So since I finally figured out what was going on with the system and why it wasn't working, why I couldn't make this video yesterday, now I can finally share with you how you can set up your Mac or Windows machine to use it as an external monitor for your Sony camera, just like you see it on the screen right now, to control shutter speed, video starting and ending. You can see your battery status, you can see your framing, all the good stuff. You can all do that with your computer. You don't need an external monitor, and you kind of get around the whole issue of not having a flip out screen. This solution I actually found while working on the first video in this kind of tutorial series that I want to make on this channel, and I want to start making again. I just wanted an easier way to see if the battery is still there, if I'm actually recording, and to frame myself. Now you all know that I'm a big advocate of just working on the gear that you actually have, and this camera is what I have. And there is other solutions, like for example using your smartphone as an external monitor, and also using an actual external monitor for your camera, and I actually travel with one. The thing is, I rarely use it. But the reason why I'm not using the external monitor as much is because it's bulky and it needs extra batteries. Just like the phone, if I use that as an external monitor, then I also need to make sure that the phone keeps the charge. And all of those things are just so many batteries to charge. This is mainly an issue with the Sony a7s Mark II or a7 Mark II or the first generation of the cameras, because those batteries just die so quickly. I've heard that the a7 Mark III as well as the a7R Mark III have new batteries and different batteries that last much longer, but I'm stuck with the a7 Mark II and the a7s Mark II, and only the a7s Mark II actually can be charged with a USB, so that's already a big plus. But anyways, way too many batteries to keep track of. Granted, the solution using your computer as an external monitor is more of a studio setting than anything else. When I'm out vlogging, I'm usually making short clips and I can check very quickly if I have actually recorded. But when I'm in this kind of studio setting, I want to make tutorials, I want to record for a longer time in one sitting, sometimes up to 20 or 30 minutes in one go. And I know that there's already a limitation in the camera that it only records for I think like 12 minutes or 20 minutes, something like that, and then it stops, but that's exactly the reason why I want the ability to see myself, to know if the camera is still recording or if it already stopped and I have to restart. So with this little rant about batteries and external monitors as well as swivel screens, which I still would like to see on the a7 line, let's get into the software and how to set up the computer as an external monitor for your camera. Let's talk about the software for a quick moment, what it can do and what it cannot do. It's actually quite amazing how much you can do. You can change all kinds of settings, you can start and stop recording, you can take photos, you can focus, you can change the exposure, as well as edit and view the photos that you have taken with the camera. You can actually use this image editing software by Sony to edit those raw photos and make similar adjustments that you can also do with Lightroom. But I'm going to focus on the remote control app here. Something I want to mention is that this software is kind of a pain to set up, because if it is having an error and it's not connecting to your camera, it's never really telling you what is going on and how to fix it. So you kind of have to finagle around and try and see what works and what doesn't. You never really know if it's the cable that's not working, if it's the camera itself, if it's the computer, if you didn't have the driver installed correctly, or if it's some other program that's hijacking the camera. I'm going to give you a couple of the pointers that I was working through to get this to work. Just be warned that the software might not be as user-friendly as you would like it to be. I definitely was greatly annoyed, and that is visible in yesterday's video when I talked about the frustration that I had with this program. And just be warned, it's not necessarily going to work on the first try. But let's see if I can guide you through this and it actually works for you for the first time. That would be amazing. So let's dive right in and actually start downloading and installing this program. The first download we're going to make is the Imaging Edge bundle. This bundle is made by Sony for the Sony a7 line as well as other Sony lines like the a6500. With this bundle you can actually remote control the cameras, you can view the pictures on your computer as well as on the camera while it's connected, and you can also edit the raw photos from those Sony cameras. So the whole bundle is very powerful, and you might actually have seen it in the manual when you got your camera. It's just something that I never really looked at because I never really needed it, but now discover that it can do all these great things. To download this bundle, we are just going to scroll down on this website, and there we will have the download for Windows as well as the download for Mac buttons. And I'm going to hit the download for Mac button because that's what I'm working on, and it's immediately going to start the download, so that's really simple. The second download that we're going to do is the Sony driver for macOS 10.13, High Sierra, and newer. I'm currently using the 10.14 beta of macOS, and so this kind of shows that it's probably going to work with newer systems as well. The big change that Apple made is that they're changing their internal policies with software interactivity, and this driver helps the Sony camera be allowed to actually connect to the computer. To download this driver, we're just going to scroll down. In the middle of the page, we will find this Agree and Download button, and we're going to hit that as well. The links to these two sites are obviously going to be in the description down below, and you don't have to type them up or anything, you can just click them. Once we have downloaded these two bundles, we're just going to install both of them. They're really easy to install, one of which is just the software bundle. We're just going to unpack that DMG file as well as the driver DMG file with a double click, and then we're just going to double click or right click and open, which might be easier for you because sometimes the macOS system prevents you from installing software, but if you right click and just say open, it's going to work either way. With the imaging editing software, we're just clicking continue, continue, agree, as well as continue on this and agree again. And then it's going to ask us for the installation location, and we just hit install. Now it's going to ask for the password or your fingerprint depending on your computer, and I'm going to not do this because I already have this program installed and I'm actually using it right now. But just follow the steps and it's very easy to install. With the second bundle, the driver, we're also just going to double click the driver. The DMG file will open, and then we have the driver loader 10.13. We're just going to right click open on this as well, and it's going to give us a little warning. Hit OK, and now asking for the password. What will happen with this driver installation is that it will ask you to open the security and privacy settings in your macOS preferences. The installer will actually bring this up automatically, so you just hit OK, and then it comes up in the security and privacy settings. In general, you will find a little box right here below allow apps downloaded from. And this box will ask you if you allow it or not. Please hit allow there, and then you can hit OK. Sometimes the system will actually ask you to restart the computer, which is actually a good thing because, let's be honest, we're never restarting our Macs, so let's give them a break and restart the computer. Once we've installed the driver as well as the software package, we are pretty much ready to go. Now we just have to switch the camera settings also to be able to connect to the computer. To do this, we're going to hit the menu button and go over to the briefcase menu, and there it is, the page number 4 on the Sony a7 Mark II as well as the Sony a7s Mark II. I don't know if it's somewhere else on other cameras, but on my cameras it's the 4th page, and it shows the USB connection as well as the USB LUN settings. Both of these have to be set as follows. The USB connection has to be set to PC remote, and the USB LUN setting has to be to multi. Once you have done those settings on the camera, you can just connect a cable to the camera as well as the computer. On the older cameras, that is probably going to be a micro USB cable. On the newer line, a7 Mark III, for example, it is a USB-C cable. Once you have all this connected, the computer is turned on. Let's turn on this camera and then start the program. To do this, we're going to open up the application folder and go to the Imaging Edge software. You can also use Spotlight to just search for Remote, Viewer, or Edit, or you can use Alfred, as I have explained in other videos. But now about all those little mega annoying aspects. I had huge problems setting all this up, and it actually delayed the production of this video by a day. Even initially, it took me forever to figure out why this is not working. But please be aware of a couple of these things that I'm mentioning now. The main thing that I have discovered is that this software is not very good in telling you what is wrong. It's pretty much just going to give you an error message that says something along the lines of the camera is not connected. Please make sure to put it in PC remote mode, as well as sometimes other programs might hijack the camera connection. Personally, I think that that's a very broad message and it's not necessarily telling you very much, but I figured out that there's a couple of programs that are actually the main problem. So what happens is that there are programs that are trying to get the data from the camera to make backups, for example. The main programs that I have read about that cause this kind of issue are Google Drive Backup and Sync, as well as Google FileStream and Dropbox. Those three, as well as Lightroom and Capture One, are programs that are trying to capture the information or the pictures from the camera and bring them up on the screen or import them into different programs or back them up to the cloud. But the problem is that they are actually trying to capture the camera right before this program tries to connect to it, and it's not going to be able to do that. So to actually be able to use this camera remotely and use this program, you have to close Dropbox, Google Drive Backup and Sync, Lightroom, all those nice programs, Just you have to close them, and you actually have to make sure that they're closed. This is actually one of the things that I ran into, is I actually closed all of those programs, but they weren't actually closed. So let me show you what I had to do to actually be able to use this program. The main issue I ran into was with Google Backup and Sync. This program is something that I use to backup and sync data, obviously, and also synchronize data from Google Drive. And I went ahead and clicked this thing, this quit backup and sync, and then it's actually going to quit. So this is going to go away in a second. And then I actually thought that I'm now able to use this program, and I just go ahead and make my remote connection. Once the backup and sync was closed, I thought now I can actually start using the remote program, but it still brought up this error message. What I had to do is go ahead and search for Activity Monitor, or just bring it up in Finder. You go to Applications, there you're going to go to the Utilities folder, and in there is the Activity Monitor. And when you bring this up and you search for Backup and Sync, you will find out that Backup and Sync actually is still running. And what I had to do is just click those and hit this little icon here, Quit. And then you can sometimes wait. The brutal version is just force quit those applications. The other ones are not related to Google, and then you're good to go. Now you can actually use the program without Google Drive hijacking it, and you can just connect to the camera. And that should give you an ability to be able to see yourself like myself on the screen right now, and you can use it just the way you would expect to hit record, change the settings, and all the good stuff. You can probably see how much the light changed during this video. That is because the time goes by very, very fast if you're trying to make a video about something that is so failure prone. And I actually hope that Sony works on this solution, because they could do so much better. They could have so much nicer of an user experience, but that has never been the strong suit of Sony in general. The interface for the remote on the phone, as well as the interfaces of their cameras, tend to not be the most user-friendly. So I don't really know if I should have my hopes up very high, but it's definitely something where the user experience could use some improvements, instead of just showing a little bit of a very vague and broad error message and just quit the program right away. So let me know how it worked for you. Like this video if it was helpful for you. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more like this, as well as my vlogging content. And stay around for another video tomorrow. Until then, be awesome and create something. Bye.